now, because again, I really, really like interaction, and I want to wake you up. We have this use case that I think it's unfortunately too common in L&D. We get stakeholders who usually ask for training because that's what they know. And even more common, they might ask for feedback training. Guess what? That's one of the topics that everyone is thinking about. So if you can visualize, if it didn't already happen to you, if you can visualize that you have a stakeholder, you can even think about who exactly that's coming to you, and they are asking you to design a feedback training. The question is, what are your first moves? And if you can share in the chat like a sentence, or what do you usually do? Let's see, how do we approach this challenge? Jack, firstly ask, what is the reason for the request? Jost has a similar thing. What is the need for this request? Identify the need. Okay. The objective of the request. Why do they need this, and what problem they're trying to solve? Very nice. Good, Katya. What else? What is the reason? What is the priority of the request? Who will be the audience? What is happening right now? Oh my God, these are so good. These questions are so good. I think we can have a small framework afterwards built by us in this webinar. Who is the audience? Specifically, action mapping on that audience. How long have you needed this? What is the desired outcome? What does success look like? What will happen if we don't do anything? What shall be different after the training? Why is it necessary now? What triggered the idea? Very well put, it's just an idea sometimes. And how does, I lost it. How does it fit with the strategic goals of the team? What's the aim of the challenge we're addressing? Ask why and what would solving the problem look like? What is the difference in performance, good word, that we want to see? Awesome. So we already have some ideas on how to approach this challenge, and we're gonna expand upon it in the next couple of minutes. Thank you so much for being so responsive in the chat. I highly, highly appreciate interaction. Okay, well, this being said, I am done talking because I don't like to hear myself talk. And I want to introduce to you our two guests, Filip and Julia. Filip is a senior learning consultant at Brights Learning, and Julia is a head of learning consulting at Brights Learning. And I will leave them to talk more about themselves because we're all adults here and they know best who they are. Okay, Filip, Julia, you have the mic.
Well, thanks a lot, Lavinia, and thanks a lot for having us. It feels great to be here and to get the chance to talk about something that I know that we're all very passionate about in this group, learning, and even better, strategic learning. And well, I've been working within learning and development during the past 7 years in different forms, both internally within the companies that I've been a part of, but during the past 4 years, I've also helped organizations ensure they use learning and development in the best possible way to ensure business growth. And just to mention one example of what that could be about, I've supported over 1,000 managers and leaders in different organizations with how to create productive and successful teams by building a learning culture and including learning and development into their daily leadership. And I will also leave some room for you, Filip, to say something about you before I continue to talk.
Thank you, Julia. Hi, everyone. I'm Filip, and I've always known that I was going to work in L&D since I was 5 years old. And that's what I said at preschool. I want to work in L&D. So here I am. I've been in talent and L&D for over a decade now, working for mainly tech companies. And I've had the privilege to lead lots of talented L&D teams as well. So hoping to share a bit of my journey and experience with you today. And thank you all for all the awesome suggestions just now. So we'll actually revert back to a lot of that during our conversation.
Wonderful. So let's get going. And when asking L&D professionals what challenges they are facing, these are the 5 most common answers. So we have 1, lack of time to do proper needs analysis. 2, we're stuck in being reactive to requests. 3, I don't know how to link my work to the wider business strategy. And 4, my stakeholders come up with a problem, the solution, the date and time, and I have to deliver. And 5, I don't know how to measure the impact of the work that I do. And before digging into solutions, we would like to ask you guys which of these challenges that you can relate to the most. And Lavinia, I think we're answering in the chat.
Yes,
right?
yes, you can
Yeah.
you can write in the chat. I hope that people won't say all.
Yeah, so you can just write the number of the challenge or the challenges that you can relate to the most.
There's a lot of diversity. There's like 2 is mentioned a lot, 5 as well. So we're stuck in being reactive to requests, and I don't know how to measure the impact of the work we do. It feels like 4 is also quite common. 3rd one. Whew. Too many, I would say. Too many. Measuring impact.
Wonderful. So this actually gives us a good starting point when moving on, since many of you can relate to many of these challenges. We won't have time to give all the answers and all the solutions to these challenges today, but we would like to give you an overview of how to work with these challenges. So let's start with number 1, a lack of time to do a proper needs analysis. And first of all, I love the fact that this is actually one of the most mentioned challenges, because that shows an awareness of the importance of doing a proper needs analysis. And in order to succeed, first of all, you need to work with data without having to reinventing the wheel. By analyzing already existing data gathered from, for example, your learning management system, your employee survey, industry reports, and past program evaluations, you can identify both trends and needs. And the great thing with using data that already exists within the organization is that the data will tell you valuable stories about your organization in a time-efficient way. And thereafter, in a next step, after using the already existing data, you can add methods to collect new data along the way, such as working with interviews with employees or through a learning organizational index. So data is the first one. Secondly, I would like to highlight the importance of finding key collaboration partners within your organization. Because getting stuck in trying to identify individual needs will take time. Instead, you want to include managers, subject matter experts, and learners who can help you focus on business goals and aligning organizational needs with the strategy. This will help you prioritize the needs that directly impacts the business goal achievement. And that's our goal here. So collaboration is the second one. And the third thing that you should do in order to succeed with the proper needs analysis in a time-efficient way is to utilize tech for regular evaluation of needs. With the right tech support, your needs analysis will be an ongoing evaluation process instead of a one-time activity that will take a lot of time. So to summarize, in order to make room for a proper needs analysis without having a lot of time to do it, you need to ensure you're focusing on the things that will give you maximum outcome by using minimum effort. And so to do so, you should focus on data, collaboration, and tech. And you can click to the next one.
Yeah, the next challenge is that you feel like you're being reactive to request. And this is a terrible feeling where you feel like the hamster in the wheel. And like Lavinia mentioned in the beginning, there's really no magic pill here. There's a lot of hard work to make this, to solve this. But I can mention a few things that might nudge people along the way. So the solution to this is actually, it's fairly straightforward. It's to be proactive and not reactive. It's not more difficult than that. But the thing that you can do to be more proactive, I have 5 things that I can mention. The first one is to try to anticipate the needs of the stakeholders. And then the way that you can do that is to, first of all, you can scan the industry. You can review company documents, knowing the mission, the vision, the business strategy. And also you can part with senior stakeholders. This will help you be able to anticipate the needs of the business instead of being reactive to requests from the business. Secondly, another thing that you can do is to develop a future-oriented learning strategy. So making sure that the strategy to also include what is needed today and tomorrow. So that will help you do the third thing, which is developing a prioritization framework. So if you have a prioritization framework, it will help you prioritize requests based on your strategy. So you can align the request to your strategy, you can align the request to business goals, and you can base it on what will have the most impact. So that's the third thing, having a prioritization framework. The fourth is what Julia already mentioned, which is trying to be more data-driven. So if you have access to performance data, customer feedback, learning analytics, these will all help you be more proactive because you can tell a story about what is needed rather than just listening to all the different symptoms from the business. So if you have all of these things, it will also help you do one more thing, which is becoming a trusted advisor. And as a trusted advisor, you can, some of that is doing what all of you already gave us tips on, which is asking the right questions when there are requests coming in, showing that you know how to treat the symptoms and not just react to the symptoms, which is asking coaching questions, sharing success stories. And I often tell the story that if you are doing all of those things, you become more like a doctor. So somebody comes to you and tell you where it hurts, and you prescribe the medicine. If you don't do that, then you'll become a bartender and somebody comes up and tell you what they want and you just make it. So that's the difference between being proactive instead of reactive. Next challenge.
So the next challenge is, I do not know how to link my work to the wider business strategy. And we're constantly meeting L&D professionals dreaming of driving more business impact. And that goes for us as well. That's our common goal, driving business impact. And the sad thing here is that in reality, we're actually getting further away from driving business impact. During the past 2 years, we have seen studies showing a decrease in the number of L&D teams aligned with their organization's goals and priorities. And this is, of course, a huge problem. And statistics based on research from over 1,000 desk-based employees also shows that almost 53% of employees report no improvement in job productivity after L&D trainings. And more than 50% rate L&D training content as uninteresting. And when talking to L&D professionals, one common pitfall that we stumble upon is that when we read statistics like this, it's common that we presume that when something is uninteresting, we need to make the content more fun or more interactive. So we actually miss the real problem when rushing into solutions such as gamification and nice looking digital learning tools. And there's nothing wrong with gamification and nice looking digital learning tools, but it's not the solution when the goal is to drive business impact. So what is then the solution? Well, first of all, I will never be able to link my work to the business strategy if I don't understand the business strategy properly. So I need to make sure that I truly understand my organization's business goals. And I can do this by reading the strategy, mission statements, and annual reports, but I can also talk to people, of course, to key stakeholders within the organization. By making sure I understand the company's goals, vision, and strategic directions, it will be so much easier for me to do a proper needs analysis, to understand priorities and challenges of my key stakeholders, and to evaluate what business impact I contribute with. So in total, I need to understand the business strategy in order to align my L&D work with real business problems. Thereafter, I need to measure my work in order to ensure that I focus on the things that matters. And we will get back to measurements because that's also a common challenge. By doing so, by making sure that I'm aligned and that I'm measuring my work, I will be able to create real impact that contributes to business growth. So working with alignment and measurements will create an impact.
So the next challenge is that my stakeholders are coming up with the problem, the solution, the date and the time, and I have to deliver. And I just want to preface this by saying, there's no magic bullet where there's a line of questions that you could be asking and then everything will go well. And this is a really tough balance because if you ask too many questions, you'll be seen as a difficult person to work with. If you ask too few questions, then you'll be seen as a delivery unit. So you really have to balance this with asking as few questions as possible. You can take some inspiration here from coaching trainings, where you want to ask a really, really strong question, but you don't want to ask more than necessary. So make sure that every question that you have is really necessary and don't ask more than that. So the solution is actually no harder than daring to challenge your stakeholders. So dare to challenge, what does that mean? One of my favorite frameworks to use here is applying performance consulting. And performance consulting is, I think somebody alluded to that when we discussed the feedback training, which is asking about what's the difference in performance that we want to see. And there were some other really, really good suggestions, like what's going to happen if we don't do anything, or what is happening right now, or what are what's the performance that you want to see but you're not seeing today? So what do you want people to be able to do that they're not doing today? And that helps you be able to come with a perspective of what is actually the root cause of the problem. Is it, in the previous example, really feedback, or is it something else that is causing the issue that they're seeing? So then you can actually say, well, in some cases, training is actually not the medicine. It's not the answer. It won't fix the issue. I can give an example where someone once told me that people don't know how to use the travel management system. They're all booking the trips wrong. And we want you to create a training to train everyone on how to book company trips. And we looked at it and asked the right questions. And then we saw, humans are humans. They will take the shortcut if needed. And it's not that they don't understand how to do it. It's just the system was designed in a way that made them always do it the wrong way. And so they rather have you telling them exactly the steps when needed, which is the most convenient way of doing it for them. So the answer wasn't actually a training. The answer was change your process, and then the problem will actually go away by itself. So asking the right questions, use performance consulting, balance it, ask as few questions as possible. And then you'll be able to provide a really, really insightful perspective to your stakeholders. So that's daring to challenge your stakeholders.
And last but definitely not least, I do not know how to measure the impact of the work that I do. And this is actually my favorite challenge to work with, is your C-level stakeholders within the organization love data. If you have data that proves the value that you contribute with, then you will get buy-in and you will get budget. But this is something that almost everyone struggle with. And many L&D teams today, they find themselves using irrelevant metrics when measuring their work. And if we look at statistics of the most used metrics, we find metrics such as employee satisfaction, number of employees taking a course, post-learning quizzes, and number of employees, number of courses each employee has completed. And metrics like these are not totally irrelevant, of course, but they don't really say anything about the business impact. Just because you have conducted a course doesn't mean that you have learned something, and just because you have learned something new doesn't mean that you will do something differently. The business will be interested in how the learning experiences that we are creating translates into performance and progression towards business goals. And the main reason behind why we're stuck in metrics that are irrelevant to the business is that we haven't done the needs analysis correctly. And if I haven't done the needs analysis correctly, it will be impossible to measure business value, simply because I do not know what business value means to the organization. And just to give you some directions, we work with 3 levels of measuring impact of a learning experience. And in order to make sure that you've made a business impact, you need to reach level 3 in this scale. And level 1 is a level that we call the I know level, and it's about knowledge verification. So for example, if I watch a video of someone cycling, it doesn't mean that I can cycle, but it means that I know what I need to do to cycle. So at this level, we're measuring knowledge through quizzes, gamification, group discussions, where participants has to demonstrate that they understand something by explaining or by answering questions. That's the basic level. Then we have level 2 that we call the I can level, and it's about skill validation. Can I apply my knowledge? After watching the video, could I actually get on the bike and pedal? So at this level, we measure skills by role-playing, hands-on projects, and tasks that requires application of the things that we have learned. The last level, the level that we're trying to reach, is the one that we call the I do level, which is about performance assessment. So now I can get on the bike and pedal, but can I actually cycle from A to B? Because B is where I need to get to in order to make a business impact. And in order to reach this level, we need to combine data with insights. So for example, if we want to improve performance within the sales team, we need to understand and measure the sales team's metrics, and we need to understand how to measure the sales team's sales cycle. That will make it possible for us to measure data before, during, and after the learning experience to see if something happened. But that's actually not enough, because we also need to talk to the sales team in order to understand if it was the learning experience that influenced the data or if something else happened within the organization. So to summarize, in order to measure the impact of what we do, we need to master L&D measurement strategies, and we need to reach the ideal level.
Yeah, so in summary, we talked about unleashing data, collaboration, and tech, and that helps us to make sure that we have proper time to do a needs analysis when needed. We also spoke about instead of being stuck to requests, we have to be more proactive, and there are ways to make sure that we can be more proactive in our strategy and in our approach. And the next one was that sometimes it's hard to link the work to the wider business strategy. And the way to solve that is to make sure that you align your strategy, align your goals and projects. You also measure and impact the projects. The fourth one is to dare to challenge your stakeholders so that your stakeholders doesn't decide and drive all of your priorities. And the last one is when it's difficult to measure the impact of the work that you do, is to master different strategies that you can apply. And in the course, we were talking about different ways, depending on if you're a big organization, small organization, using everything from statistics to success stories to make sure that you have a story to tell back to the business on the impact that your work has had. So that's the summary.
Thank you so much, Filip and Julia. I just wanted to acknowledge that, like, we're talking about these things, and in this group, it feels like we know these things and we're aware of them. And I know sometimes it's really hard to do them. It does require a lot of courage, and it requires, I do believe, some peer support as well. And very, very aware of time, I just want to point out the program that we have available. Filip and Julia are here and will be there as well. It's a program designed to support everyone in becoming more strategic in L&D. We run live sessions as well as asynchronous conversations, as well as some assignments, very short. They won't take much of your time. We know how important that is. And we'll do a lot of peer learning as well, because we already know the group will have so much information. Why not make the best of it? And the program comes with a yearly Offbit fellowship with even more resources for you to develop yourself. And before we close the door, I would like to know if there are any questions in the group. A lot of comments have popped up. Julia, Filip, probably you didn't have a lot of time to go through them, but actually Cyril was saying how our work is so similar to product work, and it seems like we have similar challenges. My comment to that was that I completely agree, and that it feels like in product they focus a lot on behavior and habits, and I think we can definitely do the same. But if there are any questions in the group, you can go off mute, by the way. Like, if you have a question, a thought, you can definitely go off mute or write in the chat, however works best for you.
I can just mention, I second Cyril's opinion. I really do see a lot of L&D managers as product managers, and there are so many similar practices that we can apply to the way that we design and approach the work. They have, like Cyril mentioned, really, really similar problems, like lots of requests coming in, people who think that they understand the product better, and you have to balance like customer feedback, internal feedback, and deciding and having a clear roadmap and a strategy on what you're trying to achieve. So it is really, really similar. There's so many things that we can learn both from each other.
Actually, can I ask Philip, because I'm now curious since you mentioned this, is there anything that they do that we're not doing? Yeah, and we should be thinking in adopting.
Yeah, one of the things that I always try to do, but it requires you to have a certain size of the organization, which is to do a lot of A/B testing. So sometimes instead of taking a lot of time to design something, you would be able to A/B test fairly quickly. Like for example, if we wanted to see what would be most useful, we would be designing invitations and then see what people would click. And you wouldn't design anything until you have the data on what is most interesting to your cohort. Same with designing content. So that is a product management principle, to always A/B test to see what actually works. I always told my teams that if we have a product that is free and nobody wants to use it, and we have to make it mandatory for people to actually take our trainings, then there's something wrong with our product. We have to make sure that we stay, not only we make something useful, but we also have to stay close to the customer to understand what is actually useful and relevant and relatable to them.
That's super interesting. We'll have to make a note, A/B test invitations before you design anything. Okay, so I am super aware of time. I sit very well in awkward silence. So I will just sit here for a couple more seconds to see if there are any questions.
There were some questions about sharing the statistics.
Yes.
And yeah, that's something perhaps that we can send out afterwards.
Yeah, we will send a follow-up with the recording and the presentation. And if you can share with us the statistics, we'll add those into the follow-up as well, for sure. Awesome. Then, well, thank you everyone for joining us. You will get a follow-up with everything. We will send Philip's and Julia's LinkedIn profiles as well, so you can connect with them over there. Yeah, looking forward to maybe meeting some of you more in the future. Thank you so much.